So let's take something here. Watch. A circle, right? Yes? Turn it vertical. Yes? One hand, extend the circle forward with your bottom hand and backwards with your back. So you're still creating a sphere. You're just adding it on a whole bunch of different dimensions. Okay, I don't know, should I do this one more time? I'll make it really simple. So you're not having to deal with the sheer size of it. Did you get that? Now watch. You're rolling a ball. This one goes forward, this one goes back. It's that simple. Now, watch. Now watch how this works. And do it again. Bear in mind, although you have an order you're doing these things, that's not to say when you practice on your own, you're always going to do it in that order. You could take any one. But the central point is that take where you are, just do three things. Turn it vertical, right? One forward, one back. Okay, let me make this really, to go into it, the central issue, in this particular case, you're back here, so watch something. One hand is clearly going low, one hand's going high. Fair comment? Watch what I'm doing as I walk. You see how they're extending out? See how it's extending out? Yes or no? And now you're in this position. Now the point is that this palm and this palm have to have the sense that they're directly connecting. And for the rest of it, come up here, Paul. I need to show this on somebody. If I show it on me, you're just not going to see it. Take your shirt off. That now, his hand's out. So this hand, basically, is pretty much, if you're turn your waist, on your center line, give or take. Okay? So your index finger is connecting to your lower dantian. But now there has to be this sense of, look, watch what I'm doing with my hands. But it has to have the sense of, look at the fingers, look right now, because this is the point. It's going to come back up and contact the other hand. So as though it's holding a ball, because if you were holding a giant ball, there would be the ball in the middle. So to make a ball, you have to make it somewhat symmetrical, or you wouldn't have any place for the ball to go. In this lower hand, the arm, the elbow being facing the ground is absolutely important. The upper hand, let's put your hand down. If we take the shoulders notch here, right? Just turn your head that way, Paul, so because otherwise you watch. See how this is down? How high can your hand go? Only as high as you can keep the shoulders notched down and open. Now what this usually means is that, when most people start this posture, they look kind of like this. That's about as far as their shoulder notch gets. But now if you're asking the question, can it get a lot bigger? The answer is absolutely yes. You should have a sense while you're walking the circle of energy going out the side of your arms in both directions so that you would have some strength if something tried to push your arm in. Here, push on my arm, Paul. You'll see what I'm talking about. Okay? So it goes. So he's, there you go. No problem. And as the hand goes higher, that should... Again, that's another tearing silk thing. But here, the object is very simple. You are trying to create. See how this is going to the palm? You're connecting this up, and you are really making a very strong circle of chi, at least through your dantian and up. That's the main point. How are we doing? Yes or no? If you get this really well, then your hand gets down here, and your palm actually, can you see how it's curving up slightly? Yes or no? That's the ball, but you get to where you can turn the ball to where the fingers are facing the floor, or let me just say at each angle that your bottom fingers go to face the floor, your chi gets down to making a circle to your thigh, to your knee, to your ankle, till eventually it's all the way down at your toes. And that's the idea. You have a major circulation of energy in the body that goes either. You can look at it as a microcosmic, you know, like from your perineum to your head, but you also can look at it from your head to your feet. A little more this way. Yeah, I want people to see your back. The trick now is, if you can tuck your tailbone forward, and if it's a strain, don't, because you won't get any profit out of it. As a matter of fact, it might hold you back. But if you can get this, we now have to deal with something. You all got the fact that from the middle of his spine, I am talking about his spine going under and up. Yes? Look. Can you all see this? You see my finger moving? I'm doing it so it's pretty obvious in space. It's going here, and this has to have a sense of literally that your tailbone is coming up underneath you to somewhere around the middle of your body, somewhere in the middle of your torso. But now we have the next thing. And for this, let's look at Paul's head. The other side of it, watch me, is getting the spine to come up. Follow my hands. See how it's going up? And just a little bit of a tuck, so that the energy of your spine is going to loop forward and come down to your perineum from the other direction. And the object is that both of them meet in the middle. Just turn forward, Paul. Can you see this again? Let your head just go easy. Okay, put your arms out again. So do you see what I'm doing here? This is my hand in the middle of his spine. It's coming up, and it's the whole spine. It's not just the neck. Then it comes up a little bit. It tucks a little bit around like this. You get that thing that's very strong. You're not looking down a lot. Watch me. Look, this, look, you look too, Paul. It's not that you're going like this. Can you all just see how that's a very tiny tuck? It is enough of a tuck to A, really get the blood out of your brain, but it's about really getting the circulation that comes over your head. Boom! So it comes down strong. Not weak, but very, very strong. If you do that, then there's going to be some place where it's a bit better. Hands have to go a bit lower. Now, if you really get that, and you get just the right way to tuck your chin to where you really get that chi going over your head and down, the place from your tailbone goes, it meets somewhere in the middle of your body, and you strongly establish the microcosmic orbit in your body just by walking. You don't have to worry about all this, you know, this point and that point and that point and that point. At a practical functional level for what anybody can do walking, this is as good as it's ever going to get. And it's not going to get better than this. Okay? Because if you think you can be walking around and with your mind kind of going through all these points, you're going to disassociate all over the place. You're not even going to see what's in front of you. So now, as this goes further, you have the question of, watch. See, his hand goes, see how the ball's getting bigger? Let me go with you. Don't stop me, or you're going to miss it. See how it gets bigger? Yes or no? As it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, where it goes down more to here, this is where you take it, you now extend that business that's happening with your spine, beginning instead the back of your legs going up, going down here, from your knee going up, going down here, till eventually it's going from your toes all the way up and over. And as you go down below your lower dantian, you'll then find that the chi will start moving through your arms in the exact same way. And this is a way you join the energy of the entire body together. This is effectively how the marriage of heaven and earth, the macrocosmic orbit, is done when you're walking the circle. Again, it's not one of your first postures, is it? It's a little bit downstream. But you've got to get, if you can't get your energy going up, if you can't really get it extending out, you can't do it with this. Otherwise, what can you do? Well, you could go the route like, you know, Wong had me doing at one point. You put a nice little iron ball in one hand, you have to hold it with the other one. You can walk around like that with weights, and there's all sorts of weight trips. But if you want to get the chi thing, I just told you how it works. Your mind, most people are not very conscious. How many of you here, if you just look and you're doing something, you start talking to yourself. How many of you can see your own internal images you're generating? Not that you get an image every once in a while. I mean pretty much the works. You just can see it. Okay, great. Get this. Everybody, it's only 2 or 3 of you, so let me assume that most people can't, since that was not too many hands went up. 2 things are intimately correlated, both at the relative level of a human being and, if you want to say, such as it is. And that is vibration and light. Vibration, when it downgrades 2 or 3 steps, creates internal dialogue. You talk inside your head. But make it go back more toward its origin, it just creates vibrations. Now, people talk inside their heads, and most people believe what they say to themselves, which is a real problem. Because half of what goes on inside people's heads, they didn't design the script. It was given to them. They never actually made a choice whether they wanted it or not, and they're stuck with it. Well, to get just with vibration, the talking in your head, it now goes 2 roots inside of you. The first root it goes to is that you have conversations where you answer yourself. I don't know if I'm good enough. And then if you're a person of negative self-esteem, you've actually got at least 1,000 ways you tell yourself exactly how you're not good enough. But you don't hear them. 1 or 2, a few float to the surface. The second one is it might just go direct to nasty sounds or vibrations inside of you. For example, you know when you go to a horror movie and like your hair stands up if it's a good one, it's from sound. They did 2 things in the early days in the 1930s. I don't think it was Harry Harryhausen. It was somebody. And what they found, there were 2 things. If you did it at just a subliminal pitch, makes everybody's hair go up on end. 1, the sound of cats being killed. Just as you kill cats, the sound they make. And that, listen, when you hear that sound, man, almost everybody freaks. And they did the sound of cats being killed, and they did the sound of nails going across a blackboard. You ever heard that? When someone takes nails across a blackboard, your hair comes up on end? Well, those are sounds you can hear. But they are stored inside your nerve, and actually everybody's got their own that does them in different ways. They shoot off. But a second thing occurs. You say something in your head, or you get some kind of a feeling, and what occurs is that you start generating internal pictures inside your head. Now, it could be pictures of vampires, it could be pictures of beautiful, wonderful beaches, it could be pictures of, I don't know, a baby being ripped out of somebody's womb, or, you know, somebody, you know, having a knife go up their ass and slice their spine open. It all depends what you see. It all depends what went in there. And those of you who went like this, the only reason why that disturbs you and makes you go like this, it's not the words. It's not even the pictures, because I'll grant you bad pictures can make you feel funny. It's that your nervous system is set that when it gets those words, it gets those pictures, it gets those vibrations, you all of a sudden, that's how you feel. And you have no idea how it happened. Now, sound stuff is a lot harder to do, but at least the stuff in terms of images and just releasing some of your nervous systems, that's what's happening to some of you. You get some sort of a thought and your mind goes like this. Okay? Whether it's a sound or it's a picture. And then the next thing, your nervous system goes. And they happen faster than I clap my hands. So what you need to realize is that you have buildup in your nervous system. That's what stress does over time. It just creates a buildup. It's your nerves just get set at a higher and a higher pitch, a higher and a higher rev. And then you think that half the thoughts you're thinking are happening because you're so brilliant you're coming up with them. No. They happen to virtually anybody whose nervous system is set to that rev. Because that is what the rev of the nervous system does to people. It's the ugly thing of our age. It's the problem, a lot of things with computers, that people have to make too many decisions. Every time you hit something, you make a decision. Well, the problem is not that you make There's the volume of decisions, but you don't know what any one of them, what that's linked into some series of pictures or vibrations you have inside you. Then you get problems. You get problems. Okay? I used to work one time with people who were very wealthy, the Wall Street types, Madison Avenue types, and sometimes they would jump out of windows. It got to be that much. If you didn't get them and tuned them down from that speed, they would go jump out of windows. Which I have to say is, I mean, you could say, oh, Wall Street, Madison Avenue, fucking manipulative bastards, good for them. But on the other side, I don't know if it's good for anybody having to jump out of a window for any reason. But when events happen to you, your nervous system gets set to a pitch. Well, you're having the same problem with Bagua. And the whole thing in Bagua is that every single time you want to change, you want to go to one posture to another or one movement to another, you think about doing it, right? And when you think about doing that, if your mind opens up, if everything just opens up and gets like comfy and easy, you won't freeze that much. But if your mind goes like that on it, then your nervous system will freeze. And that can set off a whole cascade of events. And that can then start linking you to whatever these damn images and vibrations you have inside you. And who knows what you're saying to yourself, or who knows what sounds you're hearing inside. So, is everyone getting the point? I mean, it is really an interconnected circle of one kicking off the other. Well, unfortunately, most of the methods that they had in monastic Bagua for overcoming this problem take more time than we have here. But there is one little trick that comes from Qigong Tuina that's terribly useful in this. And I'm going to try and see that somehow if I show you how that works, and you can lead it into yourself, you might find a way of at least working out some of it personally. So here's the basic method. I've done it to some of you. If you take your eyes, everybody just don't do it yet. Know what the hell's going on. I would like someone not to poke their eyes out. Do you understand? You do not have permission to poke your eyes out. Okay, just in case some of you are so dim you can't figure that one out on your own. And I've seen people be that dim. And I've seen people with PhDs be that dim. And people with high IQs be that stupid. So it's not about you. It's just that you just never know, really. You just don't know who's here. You never can know. But here's the trick. All of you know is I've made a very big thing for years about dissolving the optic nerve behind the eyeball, the gate behind the eyeball. Why? Because the thing right behind here, every single time you go into a pressure situation, your optic nerve goes like this. That's what it does. Every single time you have any sort of your mind grasping or holding something, you have any sort of deep internal tension, even just a thought flickers across your mind at 1,000th of a second, your optic nerve effectively does this. Okay? And that builds up again and again and again until the optic nerve, and then it stretches out into your eyeball. Your eyeball feels like a rock. Eyeballs are supposed to be soft. If any of you ever touch a baby's eyeballs who hasn't been crying and is just happy, they're going to be pretty soft. You touch the eyeballs of almost, I would say, 70 or 80% at any given time of the day of all adults who live in any major city, and their eyeballs are going to be hard. You're doing Bagua, you're tapping into things equally. If your nervous system freezes, it activates the energy that's creating these tensions, and that's looping back. You're tapping into the images are making your nervous system tense, your nervous system being tense is making the images more hardwired. So the trick is that you need to get something to release your nervous system. Very direct, no nonsense. Has everyone got the point? Yes or no? Just raise your hand if it's yes. I just want to make sure no one's like missing this. Okay, let me show you what the basic technique is. You'll find, we'll do this in stages. Be gentle. You may feel discomfort. Don't take it to the point of extreme pain. Okay, as I said, don't poke your eyeballs out. Your fingertips can be very sensitive. Okay? I want you right now just to start taking your fingertips over your face until you can start feeling your facial hair, the little tiny ones. Not if you got a beard or something, but I'm talking about the high. Take your forehead if you want. I want you just to get your fingertips to where you can just go around, you can start feeling the hairs. I want you to go over your skin so that you can just, it just causes like, flittering, tickling, from the smallest nerve endings you have on yourself. And I want you to use the pads of your fingers and the tip, not your nails. Eyeballs don't like nails. Neither do eyelids, for that matter. How are we doing? Now, here's the next thing you're going to do. You're going to have to feel your own tension, right? Which is not that easy to do. Now, I do not recommend any of you try and do this on somebody else unless you're at some training I do where I teach you how to do it. Because ultimately, if you're going to do it on somebody else, someone has to put their fingers on your fingers to calibrate you. Because you may not be able to feel what you're doing. But yourself, you can feel. Now, you're going to touch your eyeballs. Look at me. You're not doing it yet. And you're going to touch your eyeballs, and you're just going to go around every little patch of skin that you can find, so you get the difference between your skin and your eyeball. The eyeball will feel hard. The skin will not feel hard. Just do that until you get it. It's not a question of knowing what it is. It's a question of being able to do it. Generally, you only use one finger at a time. Maybe most people use their middle finger. Some people use their index finger, but that's it, all the way around. And I want you to go to every part of your eye. The bottom, look at me right now. The bottom of the eyeball, where the lid is, the sides, the top, the whole thing. Do not neglect any part of your eye. I'm going to try and show you something, if you get this, can just be terribly helpful in your life. But we're doing it mostly to give you a way of tapping into your nervous system when you do Bagua. It's something internal, external, that may lead you to something you need to know internally. Okay? So everyone got the basic idea? Now, here comes the hard part. Now, you can press into a human eye as much as an inch, and you won't blind them. Past an inch, you can blind them. You can dislodge the cornea, you can do all sorts of stuff. But you can go almost as much as an inch, but most people cannot do this technique past 1/4 of an inch. Less than 1 millimeter. I said it's possible to do it. I didn't say most people can. Matter of fact, let me make this simple and declarative. Most people can't. Write this down. If you want to write anything down, write it down now, because you may, once you release your eyeballs at all, you may forget everything you've just been writing. You may not want to write anything anymore. So, next. You're next going to put your fingers on the easiest part of your eye to touch, that you get the most warning and the least danger, right at the edges. See where I am? Can you get close enough where you can see me? My eyeballs are not 9 feet wide. See the edge of my eyes? Can everyone see me? Right at the edge, like that's bone. Right on the edge of the bone. You just now you press into your eyes a little bit until you can feel the pressure going right into the middle of your eye. And you will notice several things when you do it. Possibilities. Number one, if your eyes are not that tense, it'll be discomfort, but it won't hurt. If your eyeballs are really tense, you could feel like you're going to want to scream and jump out of your skin. You may get like dark colors, weird colors going. Usually you don't, but you could also get extremely bright lights. Because what's happening is that we're going from the farthest area where you can influence the optic nerve, which connects directly into your brain, to we're going to be moving toward the center. So let's all do this for a bit. And again, only do it as much as you press until you feel like you're really getting a reaction, and then you hold. Then you hold. And if you're not hurting yourself, you'll have to just over time get where, what's too much, what's too little, and what's right. Now when you start holding it for a bit, you're going to start feeling the eyeball fluttering. You're first going to feel the tension in your eye, and then you're going to, as the eye starts to release, it's going to start spasming. Tiny, itty-bitty little spasms. And now wait, don't go any deeper, just let the nerves start releasing. If you get lightning streaks or, you know, little, usually you don't get the super high fluttering like a stroboscope until you get more toward the middle of the eye, but you never can tell. And you're going to feel pain. Because the pain you get around your eyes, the pain when you get in your headache, normally starts on your eyeball and spreads out. Now, as you're doing this for a moment, just kind of remember what it was like when you're doing a single palm change or you're holding a static arm posture and you're trying to change directions or you're trying to walk quickly. That should activate the internal images you have. And bear in mind, see if the way your nerves feel now is just a dramatically lighter version than what happens when you start moving quickly. Because it is. You have one nervous system. And just like there is the phrase, the eyes are the mirror of the soul, let me tell you something. The eyes are also an extremely important gateway to the nervous system. Now, let your fingers go just for a second. And then, without opening your eyes, just feel what it's like when some of that tension starts to leave. The pressing on, the fluttering is the process of the nerves releasing. Then open your eyes and see if the world doesn't look a little bit different. And then feel the inside of your body. Again, you're on the furthest reach, the least effect. But it's going to get stronger. All right? Does that feel a little bit better? That's a simple question. Okay, I'm just telling you, this is a simple way of going right into the nervous system. Now, watch me again, because as I said, you can kind of start, see I'm on the outside of the eye? You can kind of do it, you first do it around the rim. Just around the rim of the eye, because, you know, you can feel it pretty easy, and most people, usually their sensitivity. But now, that nervousness, it's a good place to start just to develop the sensitivity to do it right. But now watch again. Now, like a bullseye, that's the big outside. Well, look what I'm doing now. And for these, usually on my side, well, it depends on the size of your fingers, size of your eyeballs, really. But are you noticing, how are my eyes different? My fingertips, they went close to the center on both sides, didn't they? Yay or nay? Look. Now, again, press in. And very often, this is going to just, you know, this is going to be a lot worse. Because the closer you get to the center of the eye, the closer you get to the optic nerve. Closer you get to the optic nerve, the more you're aware the tensions have been going on the longest and the strongest. So the trick is that you squeeze lightly and then you press in until you just find Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Stuff starts releasing, but it's not so painful you can't do it. It's quite common to see colors, to see white things, to see like little lightning flashes, a whole bunch of stuff. Now, for those of you who've done Tao Yoga or have done Qigong and you know how to just bend your chin just that slight amount so you really get the blood going from your brain down your subclavian vessel back to your heart, it's a good time to do it. Now, when you hit a particularly hard part that's very painful, you have to just stay there. You have to wait, because the discharge is going to happen at the speed it's going to happen. You can't force it. You can't make it happen quicker. And as you feel you've gotten it released, everybody just let your fingers start moving toward the center of your eye and then toward your nose. As you move closer toward the center of your nose, very often you can press in deeper, and that's actually where you can reach a lot of the stronger stuff of the optic nerve. But again, notice, be aware of how what you're doing to your eyes, the way that's linking to the nerves inside your entire body. Because they are. They just are. What was it? About a quarter to a third of the people were not really pushing off their back heel. You weren't. Now that's pretty high. And I didn't really want to turn this into a thing, and we may even do the fajing for the front foot and for the for bringing the feet together. But at the particular moment, the biggest thing that needs to be done is pushing off the back foot. So I'm just going to show it once, and then we'll work it out. So I don't know. Come here, Isaac. You're as good as anything else. He likes to be thrown in the air. It does him good. Let's just do it over here because I wouldn't want you going off the edge by accident. I'm trying to figure. No, never mind. We'll be okay here. Just Paul, just get in back of him in case anything, whatever. I just believe in being safe with this. That's all. No, he's probably going to be fine. Okay, I just want to make sure. Now, the way you do it is you get in some sort of a stance and you just embrace yourself, right? The way you do this is you put your elbows against your body. So look at me. You cannot use your arms. Do you all follow me? The object is that you should not use your arms at all. Yes? You follow me? So, you put your arms here, you put your back foot, and how am I standing right now? And you just push the person. That's it. Look, do it with the other one. What leg I do? That one. So do it with this one. Look, you're back here. So you have two ways you can do it. The first one is that you can just, you can just, from back here, push your back foot into the backwards into the floor, or else you can do it like a four-part, and you can twist your leg in and then out. Don't care which one it is. You're not using your arms. This is all coming from your legs against your body. And the reason why is a lot of you are stepping and you're stepping like this. You step forward and then you're just letting your body fall forward. No, you're forward, Your back foot must push into the ground to push you forward. Can you all get that? Just get the point. You're back here. That's all it is. Back into the ground. Okay, and if you want to do it as a two-part, the first part when you step, all that happens, so you know, is that as you come in, your leg goes in. You see that pulls them into me? Yes or no? I just want to have this going to be seen. If you're doing this and you want to use for martial arts or something, the point is that, maybe it's better with this leg because you can see it. See how my leg is coming in? Watch what that's doing to him. Do you see how it's sucking him into me and pulling him up into the air? But then what still is the same with the second part? Still the same thing. Boom, back into the ground. So I want you to do that because I want to see you walk, that when you put your foot out from here, you go forward. Here we go. Make your foot come out. So what's the next thing? Now we shift our weight back here. Now he turns. So let's get this here, right? That was in back of him, right? Well, now you turn. I think it's cool. Now you turn your hips a little bit more and your foot points at least to 135 degrees. Now, keeping your hips down, step. Just like you did the first step. When you do that, stay where you are, Paul. Get those legs apart. Get that knee well bent. Now, this is normally the position. Do you remember that before where someone stood on your leg and went up in the air? Hey, do yourself a favor. You should test this position. And when you do it, though, you should do it with 4 people. So you have one person on each side of the other one. In case you screw up, they can hold them up in the air for you. But that's how you do it. In this sort of position. Now, let's do it one more time. Let's do it one more time. Now for you folks, right? He does a toe in. He then goes back. Now, if you can do a 135, don't let me stop you. You can do it quite a bit more. You can actually go to 180 with no problem. It's going past that that's a little bit tricky, but you can. I've done as much as, I used to do 300-degree turns normally. Now look, so here, the thing is that if you take a tank turret, he now has to turn his hips so his foot points at least a little bit to the side, yes? Get your foot off the ground. Now, remember that whole bit I said about your foot doesn't go back? Now he steps. Now Paul has got really long legs, so he can do a super long stance, but that's more or less what the stance is like. Yours just may not be quite as big because your legs may not be quite as long. Then you go forward, yes? Do you all remember that? What were the 3 ways you could do it? The one way you could do it is that you could just keep the knee pretty still, twist in your legs, and go forward. And he gets his weight up all completely onto his front leg. What's the second way he could do it? He could go forward and let his big toe come in if that was causing pressure on his knee. When he makes his big toe go in, it's very important that his knee is going straight down into his ankle. What is the next way he could do it that's in the middle degree of difficulty? That is, he lets his heel go back. But at the very end of letting his heel go back, his heel touches the floor, stays stable, and he pushes into the ground to make himself go forward. Yes? Just as when, go back to the original position, just as when he goes here, if he brings his toe in, he brings it in until his toe pretty much comes in where it's going to go. Then he puts it down on the floor. Then what does he do? He pushes with his heel. Does everybody remember when I was pushing Isaac? That's what that was for, because that's what your foot should be doing. And it's very noticeable when you don't do it. It's terrible. Those of you who are watching, Isaac, would you say it was very visible? Yep. Jamie, you can't miss it, folks. So it isn't like you can cover it up. You can't. All right. All right, so what we're going to do now is this is how it's going to work. We're going to make a 3-person exercise for you guys, and let's just, come here, Craig, just so we can save time. Just as a time saver, that's all. All right, so first of all, so clearly this is the guy who's doing it. He goes and does a toe in, he does a toe out, right? The object is that one of us holds his hips steady for balance. The other one makes sure his foot points, and what else do? They make sure his foot is parallel to the floor. So maybe you have to be barefoot or something, so you put your foot underneath. You put your hand underneath. What is not okay doing this is having, Kel, watch this. Anita, watch this. It is not having your foot be like this. Parallel to the floor is not an arching foot. They're different. Okay? So the next thing is that all Craig's basic job to do is just to hold his knee steady, put one hand behind his knee. The one hand, putting the hand behind the knee ensures that your knee doesn't go backwards. And step. That's it. That's all he does. He puts his hand behind your knee so it's very clear that your knee is not going back. And it will remind you to do what with the back of your knee? Open it up. Stretch it from the back of your knee, not the front. If you stretch from the front of your knee, you can pull your knee out. If you stretch from the back of your knee, there's no danger. So have you all got this, yes or no? So watch me. Those of you done Tai Chi will have some idea. You know this technique? Those of you done the Yang style? Your hand is like this. Now, if I would remind all of you, remember how we went like this and we turned the hand around, the hand went forward like that? Well, that's what this is. The way you normally go when you're in this posture, the way you normally come into this is, watch me. See my hand rise? Can you all see this? See it rise? And the edge goes forward. And the edge goes forward. It rises, your hand turns, and the edge goes forward. In order to get this to happen, your shoulder has to really drop and the edge of your hand really go forward. Okay? In the martial arts game, this thing is commonly used to crack open the sternum and literally give someone a heart attack. Okay? When it's done slightly higher, it's very commonly used to snap a collarbone. Dana point. Cut. It cuts up, in. So, Isaac, come here for a second. That's why we have Utes.
I learn.
That's right. Listen, in the old-time martial arts game, the only way you ever learn how to really use internal techniques is someone does it to you. Now, they may not do it to you with full force, but they do it to you and it should hurt. Because then you never quite forget what was meant. And you can replicate it much easier. Every single time I ever really learned a technique from Wong, boy, did I get belted. That's all I can tell you. Now watch. Finger. Can everyone see this? Can you see in the camera? Can everyone see this? Finger. Here, take your shirt off. This will actually make it clearer. I'm not going to do it hard. I'm not trying to be nasty here. See finger? Watch. See my hand go? What am I doing to his bones? You see how I'm lifting him up? Now, you can do it in the diaphragm, but you can do it in the heart. What this does, it opens up all the bones. It puts the pressure directly against the heart, and then you go boom. And then boom, you zing it in. This also is very commonly used in the solar plexus. It comes right underneath the diaphragm. If you do it well, I'm just mentioning, if you have a criminal, you should know what to do. My teacher Wang Shujing used to say two things, which I never quite forgot, which I think, it's not the monastic tradition, but he says that, look, you should never use Bagua to fight with somebody. But if you happen to be down by the docks, he came from Tianjin, and the docks at Tianjin, in the era that he was there, was one of the most murderous places on the face of the earth. If you went down there, you could get killed quite easily. In today's money, people will kill you 50 cents without blinking an eyelash. And they'd be on the next boat, nobody would ever find them. He says, it's a terrible thing. You should never hit another human being. But there's only one thing worse if you have to, that you hit them and nothing happens. Because then they call you dead, or maimed, or injured. So, the point here, to make this thing, I'm just kind of doing this, it's, you know, and Leo had a similar philosophy. He says you shouldn't do things, but if you do it, the least they should do is go to sleep. That was his phrase. The least that should happen is they should go to sleep. This is the diaphragm. Your hand goes just above it. You stretch it, then you come right underneath the diaphragm. And if you get this and you go forward, there's a thing underneath here called the xiphoid process. If you snap that clean, most people die. If you don't do it to snap the xiphoid process, but you just do it to really get the diaphragm, you'll watch someone bend over, and if you do it well, they'll vomit, and if you don't, they'll just sit there and choke for a while. Because basically what you will do is you will pull out their diaphragm to a degree. They're going to have a lot of trouble breathing for a while. I'm not saying any of you should do this, but if you have a criminal and they're going to kill a child or a woman or a member of your family or somebody who really shouldn't get killed, then sometimes you just have to resort to extreme measures. Okay? And Taoists are not pacifists who say never hurt anybody. Just never hurt anybody if there's any way to get out of not doing it. They're very clear on that point. Okay, so did you all get that idea? So you got about this hand, yes or no? Okay, great. Now, it's okay. It's no big deal. It's just martial arts. Just medicine, reverse medicine. Now, look. So you're like this, and you went from wherever you went to, where were you? You were like this, right? Look. See the first one coming up? Now you can make it come up either, most people do it first to the high of their heart. You can do it higher. Oh, sorry, I forgot the other one. Come here. The other one that this is used for quite a bit, if it's the bottom hand, is just like that to snap a collarbone. If you snap a collarbone, come here, and you do it, and you break a collarbone, and you think they're really bad, the next thing you do is you take your hands down, you hold the collarbone, you pull like this, and their head goes slam down to the floor, and that usually will give you enough time to run away. Okay? And if they try and do anything else to you, you only need to do one thing on the side you broke the collarbone. Grab and yank their arm. That's all that's required. Don't have to hit them again. That's usually quite enough. I'm being quite serious, you know. Someone has a gun or a knife, you know, like it's very good that they can't throw it at you or encourage them not to shoot. So, I'm only explaining to you the method. Listen, we're in an age when anybody can go out right here within 1 hour, drive to Oakland, and you can pretty much buy any goddamn gun you want. So it isn't like they're not available. They are. That is just straight fact. Okay? This area. Right now you're in the Silicon Valley. You're in one of the wealthiest places in America. I'm willing to bet you actually go down to the poorer part of Redwood City and you probably could walk out with a gun in an hour. It's not hard to do. Be surprised. Cash has a certain way of encouraging commerce. Okay, now we talk about the upper hand. Your upper hand turns like this, and the object is that if you would take the bottom hand and the upper hand, they are creating a circle of chi like this. Okay? So come here again, Isaac. The thing that this is just used for terribly commonly is to block something with the upper hand and hit him with the lower one. Very, very, very common technique. But you will notice, you see how my hand is like this? See what this is doing is I just curve it. It'll lift the person right off the ground. But the larger issue about what this thing is about from a meditation point of view, now that we've gone enough to dealing with the criminals of the world, and there are unfortunately a few of them running around, is that when you get this, and you get your hand at your heart, and you get this to come, and this hand pulls up and it pulls the chi from the top of your head, your mind can kind of go into this very, very clear suspension, very, very, very open frame. And that's the point. Okay? For your FYI, Craig, or Fabian, or someone else, oh, you should sit and let your mind go completely open. Well, yeah, that's pretty much what this does. It links it directly to the body. Okay? Did you all get the point? So here we go. So it's a little bit like, you know, just kind of scoping down the thing. So as you turn, you're walking around. You're walking here, facing the center of the circle. Now you want to change directions, which is bound to happen sooner or later. Watch. And that's how you do it. All you're doing, if you take this, is look. But you're making it come. Can you see how I'm revolving like there's a sphere inside my body? You're revolving a sphere. So you go boom, 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 boom. Now, if you really get this right, it's just like your mind just opens up. You have nothing but space. You have nothing but openness. That's all it does. And there's a certain place, you're too low, your mind doesn't open, you get it just right. Low, whether it's low or it's high. And again, what do your eyes not do? Watch me. Remember what I said about the eyes and the nervous system? This is a very, very good technique for getting that. The way it's going to be is that whatever the center of the circle is, your hand's up this way. But it's not just side to side like this. It's like so. 45 right across your body. Okay? This is the earlier stage of doing it. This is the later stage of doing it. Look at me. Can you see the 45? It's cutting a diagonal straight through my body. Now, all right, someone come up here. Come here, Paul. Or Craig, come here. It doesn't matter who it is. Just I want somebody up here. The bottom hand is an edge. The top hand is a palm. So now we're moving into asymmetric postures. Okay, we're moving into asymmetric postures, not ones that are mirror images of each other, but they're getting more and more. Okay, so this one is pretty easy. This one basically goes right toward wherever the center of your circle is. But the back one, well, this is okay, but This, well, excuse me. No, you're still not far enough around, that's why. Here we go. Yeah, that's it. I know I was getting confused here. Here we go. Now, can you all see how this is a diagonal through his body? It's a diagonal. When you turn your waist, each one should be going through you to the other side. So rather than it being like this, see, that's a straight line. Yes? Here. This one comes in front of you. This one effectively goes in back of you. So now,
from the turning. Yeah.
That's when you're turned. Yeah, that's why the picture itself was confusing me. It's from the fact that you're turned. Now, in this one, you have two ways you can do it. One way is that you use your eyes, and this is the center of your circle where I'm standing. The other way you do it is you have your hands like this in the center of the circle, is with your eyes, and what you have the ability to do, and this is really hard, is to look at the center of the circle and see both of your hands at the same time. That's called a peripheral vision builder. So now he moves across, and the biggest thing about this is that this is really crossing the circuits inside your body. And I will tell you something, it's really going to get the inside of your guts twisted more than any of the other postures you've done. So Paul starts walking. Go ahead. So one way it can be is this, the center of the circle. And he's looking at me, but he has to see both hands as well as me. Go ahead. It's fine. Okay. Hi. You look good. Here we go.
Thank you.
Good smile.
And you.
That's it. There we go. Cup of tea.
Why not?
Okay. Milk or sugar?
None.
None. Oh.
No milk, no sugar.
Lemon? Nothing?
No.
My God, you're a communist. Here we go. So that's one way it can be done. The second way it can be done is this. Go ahead.
So this one's now out of...
This one's out of range, not unless you got eyes in the back of your head.
Okay.
Now, the thing of this is that yet somehow, watch me, if you can, these fingers connect to that palm. That's a cutie pie.
That's definitely a cutie pie.
It's a cutie pie. There's no other way of putting it. These fingers connect to the bottom palm. And the bottom palm presses the ground. The bottom palm presses the ground. This one lifts you, and in the process, the whole inside of your body opens up. But it opens diagonally. This takes out, look at me, this takes out these compressions inside the body. But it does it from inside the body, not by an external motion. Now, okay, wait till he gets around. Now, I want to show something on Paul that is of definite interest to both Melinda and Alexis, and probably a few more, but these two were the most, shall we say, noticeable. Wait till he gets around. You have to have a face where you all can see him. Keep going, keep going, keep going. I need to have you face them. Freeze. Now, here, his head is actually okay, but what I want you to get is, I'm just going to say this. Like, this would be you, Melinda, if you were walking. Now, some of this, it could come from your spine, but I'm going to tell you another place this comes with a lot of people. A lot of people due to genetic defect, something that's from birth. Some people literally from all sorts of accidents or from extreme emotional whatever. It's very common when people's heart center starts opening up that it distorts their body for a while. Usually not permanently. I want you now to understand a very simple piece of anatomy. This is your chest. Behind your chest is your heart. Back here, there's a lot of fascia that connects from your heart all the way up to your neck and your head. Very often that fascia gets stuck and pulls on the body. So it's not just the fact that you're dropping your chest down. Remember how you raise your spine up? Usually you also have to raise the fascia that's in back of the heart slightly up. And that takes the pressure off of the head. Now, how does that happen? But watch what you do. The first thing you do is, okay, turn around, pull, just turn a little more to the side. There we go. Just put your hands down. For a moment, we forget about the posture. Can you all see that's his back? Can you all see him? And that's his front? What you have to do first is that in order to grab the fascia that's back here, this is what you have to do with your chest. Now, can you see how that's lifting his back, yes or no? The purpose is not lifting his spine. The purpose is actually lifting what's in back of his heart. And you just feel right now, if you can feel it there. And if you all just do what I just did, raise your chest a bit, very often right behind your heart, you can feel something. And if you feel tightness in there, it probably means the fascia back there is bound in some way. Either at the heart or more likely the pericardium, the sac that goes around the heart. Did you all get that? So that's number one. I'm just saying it shrinks. And when it shrinks, when that thing back there shrinks, this is what happens. If you can see it back, as it shrinks, it's basically what it does to your head. This is what I would call, as Craig liked to put it, the Bill Gates special without the money. Okay? If you ever looked at Bill Gates, he's like this. He's got that, or he's got something in that neighborhood. But that's not the end of it. So you all got, just for a moment, how you have to lift up a bit to get that fascia. But then what you have to do is that after you've lifted it, then starting from up here, you've got to play, how do you drop the chest to continue the fascia lifting slightly until the pressure goes off it. So first you just have to lift the front slightly to get the fascia in the back activated, but then you have to drop the chest in a way that it just loosens the fascia. And as the fascia loosens, the head starts getting space to come back. Now you also can have this thing with a chicken neck because you've got stuff going on, frankly speaking, you've got stuff going on in this area of the shoulder. And where it usually goes is, it actually goes to about right where my fingers are. And what that effectively does is it pulls back this way, which then causes the chin to shoot forward. Okay, there's a number, but this is less common. Most of you have done enough stuff that shouldn't be the case at this point. Alexis, you want to try this. Paul, you want to try this. And I'll take a look at Melinda and try and figure out if that's what she's got or not. And this is for the extreme cases. And again, if it is, when you lift the back, you're going to feel a pressure in back of the heart. This area, it's in back. It's actually, well, it's going to be the heart or the pericardium. That's actually tricky to know. And pericardium's more common, but you can get it from the heart. Honestly, you can. Just depends how it's all stuck together, really. But you understand this? This area back here, in front of your spine, somewhere between your spine and the front of your chest, somewhere in this middle area, if this is like the back, that's like the chest, it's going to be somewhere in this area around here. Before the heart, but in back of it. And so you get first just a slight lifting, and that kind of just gets you, and then it's still going to feel tight, and then you have to drop your chest to loosen it down to the bottom. And that can make a big difference. Okay? Now I should mention, you can get this thing because your diaphragm is messed up, you can get it because you had a birth defect, you can get it because of literally severe emotional things will do that to people. Hard to say why. My point of view is it really matter, you know, again, we're back to the issue, those who do the meditation with me, does it really matter why you're on a torture table if you know how to get off it? I mean, seriously, because there's so many reasons why something can happen, but at the end of the day, the question is, how do you reverse it? That's the central point. So have you all got the idea, yes or no? Again, it was from the monastic thing that the martial art and the Qigong thing derived. Because Qigong was a primary developmental technique in Taoism, and it just took many forms. One of the things that was important, there were many postures, we only have one as an illustrative one, is that before there was ever the idea of teaching someone in the monastery the single palm change, there had to be something where their arms basically completely changed positions. There had to be something that was going to prepare them for being able to change their arm, one arm going forward, one arm going back in different directions. This particular posture is a good one for a very simple reason. And the posture is this. Now if you can see, my 5 fingers are touching. we'll go about how the wrist has to get formed to be in back of you. It's basically in back of you. It could be in one kidney, but the real action of it is that there's a principle that as your 5 fingers come together, you can use that to join the energy of all of your internal organs. Can you all hear that? So one, the back hand is joining and pulling the energy of your internal organs, and the front hand is circulating and pushing it out. And the object of this is to get this push-pull, which really circulates the energy throughout all of your 5 major internal organs. So that's a big deal. Now, I'm not going to go into it, but those of you who've done Tai Chi and done it with me, I show how it can be used as a beak for this and that. I mean, as a martial art thing, example, any position where the fingers go like this implies the fingers are like this, the fingers are like this, the fingers are like this, the fingers are like this. And you'd be surprised what you can poke. You'd also be surprised that this particular method of taking the hands is one that is used for literally grabbing and bursting veins and arteries, ripping them. It's called spotting. I'm not going to do anybody because it's really not a nice thing to do. But anyway, the point of it here is that it also develops a very strong grip. And taking your palm, which is like this, hello? You see this? This is the balancing action for it that opens and stretches everything in the reverse direction. So that's why this posture is here. The central point about it is that it gets the organs in the back. The upper hand opens the spine upward. The lower hand literally pulls the energy of the legs into the internal organs. The upper hand causes that energy to circulate all the way out to your fingertips and out to your toes. So your back hand is responsible for opening up the energy inside your legs, and your upper hand is responsible for opening up the energy inside your torso. This action is responsible for making the connection to your internal organs. We all got the point? Yes, no? Okay, so in this sense, we'll start off in making it fairly easy, and it's just this. Now, as you walk, your hand is really back. So the object is to start kind of with your hand like this, and then eventually it can rise up this far, but no further. The main thing is that you really have to have the sense that as your hand lifts up, also what happens is the energy from your legs also makes your whole spine go and lifts it up to the crown of your head. Just as this hand going forward pulls your spine up, this hand pushes your spine up, like something being drawn up from a well, like pulling the rope up, where this one pushes it out, pushes your spine upward. This hand posture, this is a very basic Qigong standing posture. You'll see it everywhere. Okay? So, let me just show a point or two on 1 or 2 people. Come here, Paul. You got an easy to see body for this. You take your shirt off. Just to make it again, just stand forward, stick your hand in front. So this is really out there. It's done 2 ways. In the beginning, it is done with the palm projecting out. As you get better and better and better, these fingers, as the palm projects out, comes back this way. They come back this way until literally you can make an energy linkage with your fingers. Now turn around. Now the important part is that this is uncool. What is cool is this. So in effect, what position is this? It's elbows down, isn't it? It's just your elbow down. See my elbow down? Can you see this here? It's still facing that basic downward position as I go. Now it faces up, but the pressure of it is down. Okay? This is your hands, not sideways, but if you can this way. That's better. All right? So now as you walk, the hard part about this thing is that it's really going to stretch you every way but loose, the inside of your body. There we go.
Bit more.
Bit more. Bit more. Balance. So slowly but surely it's taking the front and the back of your body and going and opening it up. Again, The degree of the opening is depending upon how much your internal organs release. So for example, come around. Let's say you let your hands just come in a little bit. As he gets a release from his hands inside his internal organs and he gets space, that space from here now is what he uses to get his hands to go out farther. Because the space inside of his internal organs will be necessary to release his spine. And you walk. Now, when he wants to change directions, the hard part is going to be, here, I'll do this now. Just sit down beside me. I may have you back here in a second, but just sit down for a second. Thanks. When you want to change directions, okay? Now, bear in mind, he's walking with his body forward. You're like this, aren't you? You look. Watch what's happening. Can you see my elbows bending, yes or no? Did everybody get that? Yes or no? Come here, Paul. We'll do it again. Come here. I can't do that with turning to the center, not yet. I'd rip something. It's too soon. All right, so Paul wants to turn, and his hands are coming in. Now, keep walking. I want to mention something.
Just without...
Just walking. This pressure, this way this is putting a hell of a lot of pressure on your elbow joint. To get your body to where you're walking, just watch me. Watch my elbow joints. Forget everything else. Did you see how fluidly those elbows are moving? You're going to have trouble with that. You're going to have trouble with that because everything inside your body is going to make your elbows seem like they're like really stiff, and you have to find a way to make it fluid. I will tell you the trick. The trick is ultimately going to lie in your armpits and your internal organs. It is not going to lie in your spine. Yes, you will have to use your spine, but it's really going to lie in your internal organs. Let's do this again. So he starts to turn, and when he goes, these elbows have got to start loosening up and getting soft so that then they can go out without getting stuck. Okay, just watch my elbows again. Can you all see this, yes or no? They're moving continuously, not... My elbows just didn't move on both sides, did you notice that? All they did was go like this. See if you can notice the... You see the turning? Look at this. Get what's going on. Can you all see this, yes or no? Now watch this and watch my hands. Basically, I was doing that same motion. It's that same sort of motion running inside your elbows, but it has to be really rooted inside your belly. So again, just for someone to give feedback, come here, Bill. Come here, Paul. Come here, Craig. Come here, Jamie. Come here, Isaac. Have fun. Come on. Lee, if you want to, come here for a minute. Now, I don't know how the hell you're going to put your hands along my belly and just give me the room to move my arms, but figure it out. Tell them what's happening inside my gut and also equally inside the back. You're going to feel, see here. Okay, that's cool. Well, get back that more or less. Now watch. Tell him what's happening. Give him a mic. Tell him what's happening.
His internal...
You should look at them because the thing is...
everything internally is kind of coming through in the same kind of spiraling action that you saw in his elbow as it came around. Everything inside is going through that same thing and then coming back out in a similar fashion. Just all layers, all the way right into the core of his body is what I could feel.
If any of you have anything to add, just add it. Go ahead.
Just from the back of his body, there was this sense of like as his hand came back here, like almost a condensing and then a slight lifting when his hand came back that opened up the lower part of his back.
Yeah, same. Also, the nature of the movement is just kind of like nothing hard. It's like soft,
The amoeba.
soft, but something firm in it too. But totally condense, release, and that.
Lee, do you have
Lovely
anything to
kind
add?
of
or
feel.
no? Does anybody else? Jamie, do you have anything to add? Okay, cool. So give it back. So have you guys got the idea? Yes or no? Go there and go crazy for a few minutes and try and figure it out.